In May 2022, an idea began that no one really expected back then, where it would develop this time, where it would lead. Today, May 2026, 4 years later, I'm sitting in Laos again with the person who started this journey. By now, many people really know Baccarat Entertainment, but very few know the person who is actually behind it. And that's why we're doing this interview today. Thank you very much, Andy, for taking the time. And we want to start right away. Andy, how does it feel for you to be sitting here now, 4 years later? And did you think back then, did you have any idea what would come of it?
Well, first of all, hello, Max. It's certainly not the first time we're sitting together again, which is not a bad thing. Some people only sit together once and then those people are gone. A friendship has developed between us beyond business. I think that's also a very good prerequisite. Well, 4 years. To me, it feels like 6 months, 8 months. It's been so intense, especially the first 2 years, when I think back to the first 6 months before we even started. I don't want to remember that time at all because I wouldn't want to do it again. Today, I'm glad I was so stupid. To have been so naive to think I could do something like this, you always laugh about it when I tell you. 4.5 years ago, I didn't know, I'm serious, I didn't know what a Bitcoin was. I knew nothing about cryptocurrencies, I knew nothing about MLM, I knew nothing. And now, 4.5 years later, we're sitting here and we've brought this story out of the startup phase. I always like to say that after 4 years, we're just out of the startup phase where we can now say, okay, now I can also lean back a bit, take things a bit easier because we're perfectly positioned, and above all, we've thought far ahead for the future with many, many ideas and changes regarding the future so that everything becomes even safer, even more secure, even better than it already is.
You like to emphasize that, and I think many people will come back to this later in the conversation. I think many people aren't even aware of it. For you, after 4 years, it's actually just the first chapter and just the beginning of what great things can still emerge. Many people think, oh God, it's already been 4 years, but you have a completely different perspective on it because you just mentioned that the whole thing or the idea has actually existed for 4.5 years, and today is officially on the 2nd of May 2022, it was founded. Today is May 2nd, 26. So today is really the 4-year anniversary of the founding date, but the idea was born 6 months before that. When you think back to that beginning, what's the first thing that comes to mind? You just said a little bit about being so naive or something, but what was it for you, perhaps? The most striking thing about it?
The most striking thing about this whole situation was actually the fact that the idea itself did not originally come from me at all, but rather that I was, in a sense, more or less pushed or nudged into the situation by circumstances beyond my control. The damaged Pega, which came from another system, was also a significant factor in how things unfolded. The people I brought in back then, who were in my downline, were of the opinion that if anyone can do it, it's you, Andy. And I said, sure, thanks, you guys are crazy. But that's how a thought process started for me. And I saw, at least regardless of whether I can do it or not, whether I'll succeed or not, that wasn't important to me at that moment. My only motivation was, okay, this way I can at least help the people I got into something that didn't go so well and possibly make up for the damage. And it was also clear to me that even if it doesn't work out, or rather, if I don't succeed, then at least I've given my best to make up for this shortcoming. And that was the motivation for me, to try to compensate those people from back then with hard work, and then eventually, if it works out, that the money might even flow back. That was practically the reason. And the first thing I think of now,
what has come out of it is far beyond that. You said earlier that we've known each other for 2 years now. And an extremely positive trait of yours that I've noticed, as you just mentioned, is that there are many things you're not familiar with. If we take the example of Bitcoin, or perhaps what we'll come back to later, but you just say, let's start walking the path, and either we grow with the task. And you've actually always grown so far and managed to get everything done. And maybe in that regard, the question, who was Andy Schumann before all this began? You have a very eventful life story, but maybe you could give us a rough outline. You did many other things before Baccarat Entertainment.
Sorry, Max, that's not possible in a rough outline. We'd need a 2-hour Zoom call just to touch on everything I've done. But to get to the point, you've already mentioned something. No matter what I've done in my athletic career or when I founded my construction company in Hanover, Germany, I was always successful because I actually always sought out the difficulties. The easy stuff, the soft stuff, anyone can handle that. But what moves you forward, what takes you further, it's the difficulties. Either you master the difficulties and stand out from those who don't, or you don't master them and it comes to nothing. You stay like everyone else, or it goes downhill. And for me, difficulties are, I think we talked about this a few days ago, maybe with the others. For me, difficulties aren't really a problem, but rather for both of us. They're there, they have to be there to make a positive change, because without difficulties, you can't improve anything. That's why I'm not afraid of difficulties. And that's basically my whole life, because you're asking now, who is Andre Schumann? Not of difficulties. Being afraid, come on. And above all, the difficulty, the greatest difficulty. Solve it first. The thing I'm most afraid of is the first thing on my list in the morning, so that we start with that first, so you don't have it in the back of your mind, oh, that's still coming, oh, that's still coming. Because I can tell you this, start with the hardest thing. Once you've solved that, the next smaller thing isn't so hard anymore, and you have more momentum. And then success is more likely than if you start with the easy stuff that's gone, but then you're already exhausted by the time the hardest part arrives. And then you actually need a break. If you've done the hardest part, and that's my life. No matter what it was, as I said, in sports or privately, I've also mastered 4 marriages, which is also hard. And so that also shapes you. And the 4th marriage is apparently now the one that I will also stick with.
Fingers crossed. That's also together with our big boss. So
Big boss is my wife.
hang in there. Yes, you said it's also shaped. The perfect keyword for the next question I had written down. What has in your life personally shaped you the most? Maybe you'd like to talk about you still have career milestones and you've had career peaks, if I just take Formula One as a keyword, or a major car company. Were there moments that also completely changed your outlook on life? So what shaped you, and where did you say that?
It had such points. I have to go back a bit further for that. One day shaped and molded me. It made me who I am. And that was my escape from East Germany back then, where I, as they say, deserted. That means I was on the watchtower, not in Berlin at the border. I was stationed in the interior of the country and was on guard duty. And in the 2 hours I was on the watchtower, I put my Kalashnikov in the corner and climbed down the wrong side of the tower. That means I was suddenly in front of the barracks. And now I had to go through with my plan, without wanting to go into more detail now. The result was, either I make it, then I have whatever kind of new future in West Germany, without having known anyone there, without knowing where I was even going. I only had a feeling that drove me. If I don't make it, I said to myself, I hope they shoot you. Because prison in East Germany, for those labeled as traitors to the fatherland, was, understandably, not exactly a pleasant place to be. Conditions there were often harsh and far from comfortable. Having achieved that, and the moment I came to in a hospital in Göttingen and asked, where am I? And they told me, okay, you're here in Göttingen in the hospital. And I had never even heard the word Göttingen before. Where
Is that West Germany?
I didn't know, am I in West Germany now or in East Germany? I first looked for the bullet holes when I came to, and then I asked for my wife and for the children. And after they told me, Mr. Schumann, everything is all right, you are in a hospital in Göttingen in West Germany, that moment completely changed me, because having achieved what I achieved there, I mean this escape plan, planning it, following through, succeeding, it really turns you into a personality where you have this energy, this knowledge of what you can achieve when you want something absolutely and you see it through and don't listen to others. And especially not to your own family, because otherwise I'd still be sitting over there where I came from. That shaped me, and it has shaped me for my entire life. Where I
See, it was a matter of life and death in that case. It
was life and death, and I just happened to survive it. And then there are stories like what you mentioned. I know what you mean. I was with Michael Schumacher for many years. I had the great honor of being able to accompany him for part of his time at the Nürburgring. Something like that shapes you, not just meeting such a personality, but also being chosen by a staff to be allowed to take care of Michael Schumacher. That wasn't just an honor, you had to have achieved something beforehand, without knowing that this would ever happen. They offered that to me because of who I am, my personality, and my actions. And as far as sports go, in the end, it's not the championship that I won there in Thailand. In pool, playing billiards, that's not to be seen in the same way as being able to beat Jimmy White. Many will know him in a charity tournament in Thailand. That is practically not always football, all the trophies, everything I got there, that all takes a back seat. That one day, being able to beat Jimmy White, a legend in snooker, that's another one of those you can do it moments. And that is practically my life.
But it's based on the day you just described, right?
You know, you can do anything. You can achieve anything if you only want it. Funny anecdote, we want to have a little fun too. On the day that I played against Jimmy White,
Snooker world champion.
snooker world champion, he was in the snooker world championship final for 7 years nonstop. Jimmy White, a legend. It started early at home for me. I cut my fingernails. I put on socks. I put on stockings. I put on a t-shirt that I felt comfortable in, so that when I'm standing at the table, I don't have to worry about, oh, is my fingernail too long? Or is there something with my sock? But instead, full concentration on the event. And that contributes a lot to it. What I mean by that is how you prepare yourself. Because you can play however you want. If you're suddenly preoccupied with a fingernail that might be broken or itchy, you have no chance. Preparation, knowing what you can do, you can achieve a lot.
Cool, congratulations. What really drove you back then? I mean, really, let's look at that phase in West Germany, like really getting out of the old life and into the new one. And before you even started with Baccarat, because we want to get into the reasons for that too. But what drove you there, and what did success mean in that context? For you personally as well?
Here too, I was driven to success, forced into it. I had then, Germany, West Germany, then Hanover. I left all that because I was already married to my Thai wife, whom I didn't meet in Thailand. We met in Germany. I'd never even been to Thailand. I didn't even know what Thailand was. I got to know Thailand through my later wife, who's Thai, whom I met in Germany. And because for me, it wasn't the right way to go, tearing a Thai woman away from her environment to bring her to Germany. No matter what you think, for me, it's not the right way. You can offer them a golden cage over there, but they won't feel at home. It's like if you took a palm tree from here, we're in Asia, it'll die in Germany, it'll die in Europe. Then there are the smart Alex who say, well, there are greenhouses. Right, you're correct. Then your palm tree is exactly where I said, in a golden palace. It's not standing with other palm trees and basically lacks that spirit.
I can confirm that from my experience with my wife, because we were in Germany. She wanted to go to Germany, but now it's difficult.
And so, for example, we then went to Thailand. I was doing really well financially. I thought, okay, you're 42 now, enjoy your retirement. We had a great villa with a pool, the sea right on our doorstep. Max, that dream life lasted for about 6 months.
And having nothing to do, then
I said to myself, Andy, is this it? 42, is this really it? And I looked for a purpose, not for the money. Then it wouldn't have worked. If I'd had to do it for the money, it wouldn't have been successful. And that was a guest house. A guest house with a restaurant, a bar, a sports bar, and so on. Which I then ran over there in Thailand for 14 years. Which actually became the largest German guest house in Pattaya. And everyone was talking about it in a positive way. That was work, a lot of hard work. Also from my wife, the way I met her. My new wife, the current one, my Laotian wife. She cooked in the restaurant, for example, even though she didn't have to. She sweated like crazy, but she was happy. That's how she first got to know that mentality. And I wasn't too proud to clean the guest rooms every single day for 7 years, the first 7 years. And to all the cleaning ladies out there, hats off to your work. I know what you do. And after 7 years, I stopped doing the cleaning. Not because I was making too much money, but I just couldn't take the filth anymore, the daily filth that was served up to me. I've seen people spit at my feet while I'm sitting downstairs with my guests. They come down freshly showered, smelling nice, and leave behind such a pigsty. I had to make a choice. Either I cut ties with my friends by telling them, look, you're not clean enough, I don't want you here anymore, and then you lose guests. Or I say, okay, I won't look at the rooms anymore, and then I don't know anything about the guest. That way I don't have to pretend when I'm sitting with them. And that's why I hired a cleaning crew. And that's practically what drove me in Thailand too. I have to be successful in Thailand, I have to work in Thailand. Otherwise, the guest house wouldn't have become what it was.
But success is personally important to you, even when we're competing, like in our anniversary competition. Success is definitely a key point. It's what drives you wanting to have a task and wanting to be good at it.
Right. But the word itself says it. What is success? It follows. That means it doesn't come from suffering. You have to do something first so that it follows, it follows. That is success. And of course, there's nothing better than success, than enjoying that success. But it's hard work, because if everyone had success in the same situation, then it wouldn't be anything special.
Special.
Right. And only the special things set you apart. And yes, my whole life, not just now, I've been on an ego trip my whole life. On an ego trip where I always say, I want to be doing very, very well. I want to be doing very well. Because that's human. If I'm doing very well, my family is doing very well.
That's true for other things too.
And if my family is doing well, then there's something left over. Then you can also give something back. And that's actually, I can tell you, if you haven't done it, you should. The most beautiful thing there is being able to give something to someone. And don't come to me with, oh, I'd love to, but I have no money. I mentioned this somewhere recently. If you have $10,000, well, give $50. What's the problem? If you only have $100, give €5. Or $5? Sorry, give $5. It's the same thing. It gives you such joy when you give it to someone who really needs it. How they look at you, shocked and surprised that you're giving them this. I started here in Asia with my t-shirts, for example, when you don't need them anymore. You throw them away. So we went down to the street. We still believed someone might need a new t-shirt, stopped with the motorbike, handed them the t-shirt. They look at you like, wow, and that's fun. So it's not just money. An old t-shirt is enough too.
And if you look at it a bit selfishly, something like that gives you something too. So some people might not think that far ahead. When you give something, you also get something back.
Yes, something always comes back. And even if it's just the happy, warm glow on some children's faces as they look at you, it's truly incredible. With one that also recharges energy, like when you have a dog and you pet it and it looks you in the eye.
Without now, we've already done an interview, and without repeating ourselves, but to get back to Baccarat Entertainment, or rather, to come back to the story again. If we fast forward a bit now, what were the most emotional moments of the last 4.5 years? Were there phases that the community might not have noticed at all, where you'd say, well, you have no idea what's going on with the person, Andy Schumann, during that time, so that you can do and achieve all of this here?
Yes, there are so many. It's always like this. Even the task force I have, they practically only ever see the front end. I also always have the whole background, and background is also the whole background that has to do with Baccarat, and the whole background that has to do with the backers. You there?
In the kindergarten. The children in the kindergarten, yes, exactly.
And we say among ourselves, those who are already backers, we always say, welcome to my kindergarten, and they are practically my little children. And I'm just the daddy of the kindergarten, just for those who didn't know it yet. And there are an incredible number of experiences, both positive and negative. So there are people who manage to motivate you positively to the absolute limit. And then there are also people who pull you down so much. Because either right at the beginning, after about a year or a year and a half, it was extreme that people tried to, Baccarat Entertainment, to stifle it, to stop it, because the people who are in the industry, they already saw something growing. And that was naturally a problem for them, that Baccarat Entertainment exists.
And especially
how it has positioned itself. And there were very, very many disruptive factors from the outside. And especially, I remember my 60th birthday, a big party was planned here. Many, many people were invited. And I could only participate in the party for a very, very short time because we were subject to a hacking attack at that time. I could have also said, okay, I've already earned good money. What does that have to do with me? I've been hacked. The matter is settled. I think at that time, Armin from the task force was there. He helped me. I think I didn't get to bed for 3 weeks. What the good thing about the story...
Was that with the hospital then too?
It was also with the hospital. And the good thing about the whole story was, again, back then, I just thought, no, whoever you are, not you or not you, we didn't just survive the problem, mastered it, but we questioned it. How could it arise? How could it happen? And based on the results that I got from the questioning, the new dashboard was created, for example, which made us much, much safer, which was normally an immense financial investment that I had to make, but also gladly did, to simply make it even more secure than we already were. And practically from what happened, which we couldn't have known, again, not as a negative, but good that it happened, now at least we know where there's a weak spot. So that was a very, very pivotal point. Then there was another pivotal point. The 1,000 member story, that was a turning point.
A positive turning point.
Absolutely positive, especially since it fits my schedule perfectly. Because for me, as I've said many times, healthy growth is very, very important. It's not about getting rich quickly, but simply growing in a healthy way. Now, I'm in the fortunate position to be able to say, I don't have to talk about money anymore. Now, back then I had to, because I also had to invest an incredible amount of money. We had COVID behind us, I lost my guest house, and so on. We moved, a fresh start, and so on. It all cost money. So back then I still had to earn money, or rather, it wasn't that easy because, first of all, there was an immense financial investment from my side that had to be made. And now, after 4 years, I'm doing a bit better accordingly and can look at things from that perspective. I can look into the future so relaxed that now, and here I go again on my ego trip, I actually just want to expand it immensely. People should hear the name Andy Schumann. People should hear Baccarat Entertainment. And the bigger it is, the more comfortable I feel now. You can think what you want now. Yes, I'm on an ego trip.
I see it as that statement you already made to me personally. I'm not doing this for the money anymore, dear Max, but there are other reasons that drive me. And the point you just mentioned just now, that's a much more reassuring reason for me because, as you said, maybe in the distant future there'll be another hack attack. You look at your bank account and say, what do I care about this hack attack? But exactly this attitude of yours naturally reassures me as well to say, well, I know he's not doing it for the cash, but he's doing it from a different motivation. And if you were to say after a hack, I don't care, after me, the deluge, then you would no longer achieve what you are pursuing.
Right? And at this point, I would say we're not doing a sales pitch here.
No,
We're just doing this so people get to know me.
exactly.
Do. And I'm not saying this to encourage more people to trust me, but simply as a presentation, nothing more, because anything else would be a lie. And of course, there are still, as before, we just had one again 2 months ago, someone who threatened me and blackmailed me and so on. That's part of it. That's just how it is, unfortunately. There are just people who sit at home on the sofa and want to earn their money that way. Well, I know that. I've also, by now, my life has adjusted to it. The whole environment has adjusted to it. I had to adjust to it.
Unfortunately, one even has to say at this point regarding that,
Yes, unfortunately. Okay, you mean with the bodyguard,
yes,
that you are protected.
you have to have personal protection.
I have personal protection. Not because I'm a bad person. Not because there are bad people here, but because there's one or two all over the world. And that's why I was provided with a personal protection program by the police, although I must say that the two bodyguards who are always by my side when I'm actually away from home for longer distances or longer periods or leave the city anyway, are friends, have become friends, where now there are several guests here again. I think those two have now, flown 14,000 kilometers just to get to know me here and be at the party. The
Two bakers, yeah, 3 members of the community.
Exactly. They're celebrating a birthday now, interestingly. And they basically join the inner circle. If you don't tell them, they won't even notice they're my bodyguards. They're friends, they're integrated. And because of that, it doesn't really bother me. And I can go on living my life, and I don't always have the thought, oh, there's someone standing behind you, watching over you.
Though there are still, for example, since you mentioned the police protection program, there are still some restrictions, like you told me this too. I can post on Instagram where I'm going, and right now, while I'm sitting here with you, I can make a post about it as long as you're not under protection at that specific moment, maybe. Then you wouldn't be allowed to make a post like that, for instance. Otherwise, you just have to wait a while. It's a small thing. It
Is for me. Also interesting to get to know what it actually means. A police organized protection program, what it all entails, and what Max just mentioned. So if I ever leave the house alone with my wife or visit family and so on, I'm not allowed to post that at the same time. So if I'm alone in Vientiane, for example, I'm not allowed to post that today. Post it. I can post it when I'm back. Unless my bodyguards are with me, then I can.
exactly. And if you don't call it posting, but sharing, I share my story, with a friend, share it with you, then, hey, look, I'm here right now and I'm doing well. And you can be a part of it. Yeah, that's denied to you, for example, if you're not. It's a small thing, but it's still.
The downside of the coin. But okay, you have to accept that if you want to make use of it. That's how it is. Everything else, by the way, would be negligent. So if I say now, okay, I'm a good guy who would want to do me harm, that would be so incredibly negligent. I think I'd have been long gone by now.
Especially because you say there aren't just good people in the world, unfortunately, who want to make money from things like that. For that, you're theoretically a target to some extent.
Yes.
Exactly. I had written down the question, but you've actually already answered it. What was the hardest part and what kept you from giving up at that moment? Would you perhaps say it was the attack that was throughout that whole time, the thing that also...
No, I know what you're getting at. Sorry. No, I block things like that out because even if damage had occurred, and damage did occur, relatively little, I think 30 or 40,000.
Relatively little. For some, that's a lot of money.
And also, a reason.
Why you could quit and say...
I topped it up then. I basically took the bakers who were harmed, whom I don't know, and from our community, I then pushed the money back in. I didn't have to do it, but for me, it was simply a matter of course. That's the least of it. It gets worse when you start worrying about your own personal safety, your family, your children. When you're approached in that way, when you're threatened, then it becomes something else entirely, right? You can't take anything lightly there.
Because
what's a prank threat? What's a direct threat? You have to look into it a bit more closely then. And so far, I found all of you who did that.
But it's interesting that you bring that up, because I hadn't even thought of that in this case, for example, because it could also be that someone comes to you and says, Andy, listen up, if your child doesn't come home from school, what are you willing to pay for that? And then to build on that question, what stopped you from saying, despite such a danger, no, I'm going to keep going, I want to continue here?
It simply comes back to what I explained earlier. That day X, when I confused East Germany with West Germany, there's no more danger for me. There is no more danger for me. There is...
Or rather, not the kind that you can't handle. The danger is...
I'm not afraid of anything. If I judge that I can't handle it, okay, then of course I'll leave it alone. That's logical, of course. But otherwise, if it's within the realm of what I could manage, there's nothing I'm afraid of.
Okay, nice. Building on that quite well, actually. Above all, we don't need to talk about it anymore after 4 years. What it was like at the beginning, or rather, why did you start doing this? We already discussed that in the other interview. You've had all sorts of, or many difficulties where you could actually say, especially that early period, that could have thrown you off track. The hack could have thrown you off track. There were so many points where you could actually say, because you didn't stop there, we don't need to talk about it anymore. That you've established the whole thing by now, that you've proven you can do it, and possibly, we'll come back to that later, that we're only at chapter 1 and that we can expect a really positive future. But precisely, and that's certainly a point that affects me, for example, and that I can understand well, because I still have to work for the money or do something, because of course I also want to provide for my wife, myself, and the child. You don't have to do that anymore, as you just mentioned, do you? Why are you still doing this today? What drives you? And what gives you the personal energy to say, I want to do this for 5, 6 to a maximum of 7 years, 10 years. You've already managed 3 years of that. So 7 more years.
It's been 4 years. So
then you have 6 years left. Well, we don't want to keep you in it any longer. But what drives you? What is it that makes you say there's still something here?
With that question, I always find myself thinking of this one particular situation. I believe it was even a public moment where an older lady introduced herself as being so genuinely happy. She said that because of Baccarat, she is finally able to truly enjoy her retirement life. It was always very, very limited. It always just lasted from month to month. And then I saw the post. Look here, thanks Baccarat, I can take my first vacation in 20 years, even though she was a retiree. Or then the other one who writes to me. Look Andy, thanks Baccarat, I've now been able to buy my fitted kitchen without having to take out a loan. Or then our Klaus, whose video is also on your video channel, very interesting, who, well, clearly and plainly says he was able to buy his dream car, not a used one, a new car now, and is very, very happy about it. And those are the points that give me energy, they give me joy, especially the old lady. That's brilliant for me when a pensioner like that can refresh her later years. I think that's great. And if beyond that, actions like that can be started, like what I have going on right now with the school, where I
practically there.
Okay, then let's leave that for now. The fact that I can still support certain things privately by myself really gives me energy. Honestly, it brings me joy.
Nice. Actually, quite fitting to that, what does the community mean to you? We're now over 3,000 members, quite healthy, over 3,000 members. What does it mean, especially in view of what you just said about an older lady who can build herself up through it, but what does this big, great community mean down to maybe kindergarten? What does that mean to you?
Well, I disagree with you. I think we are Over 3,300 members as of the status quo now. May 2026. Exactly. And so this community is, without knowing the others, in my opinion, one of the world's best groups that there is. Why do I say that? Because the community is so annoying, it's so uplifting, it's so joyful, it's so infuriating, it's
all human.
It's human. Just humans, humanity, and humans can only be led and guided by other humans, not by robots. Only people truly understand people. It just depends on who the person is who leads this community. That happens to be me, and I allow myself, with care and intention, to lead the community, to thoughtfully guide it, and to keep it alive as I see fit. I have, for example, I deliberately say I have, for example, forbidden religion. Politics has no place in our community. Only then is this religion manageable. Football is also forbidden unless you're talking about Bayern Munich,
which falls under religion and politics.
If someone speaks badly about it, it's immediately stopped. That
threatens with expulsion.
I take that right for myself. But to get back to it now, it's life, it's pure life. There's been a lot of arguing. It also led to exclusion with you, right? It also led to the exclusion of certain pilgrims who couldn't or wouldn't stick to these community rules, or because they were introduced as disruptive factors to rot the community from within. And that's where it's very, very important now. What good is it to me if I have my favorite fruit box and my favorite apple, my dearest apple, Max, starts causing trouble right in the middle of it? So then I try to the initial rot, which if I can't get it out, then I can stop. Then I just have to take the apple and take it out of the box so that the other apples don't get infected. And then practically this hole gets plugged. And at some point, well, man, now Max isn't there anymore. Yeah, well, luckily he's not there anymore.
Won't happen.
Okay, just as an illustration, you know what I mean, right? For instance, this is just to show you.
Especially, that's a good image you're using, because if you have a rotten spot in there, it can also...
It spreads. Take the rotten apple out, even if it's the favorite apple. Back then, I left my parents, my father, my mother in the dead of night. They knew nothing of my plan, weren't allowed to know, couldn't know. That means I took them out of my life so that I could practically carry on with my life. Because with my parents, that wouldn't have worked.
A bit sad that you're making this comparison in this context. No, that's
just simply put
life. I also know the background to it. Maybe in summary, but still regarding the community, which is the foundation and always noticeable. We clash sometimes. I've also, argued with community members, or even with you sometimes. It always goes back to a positive energy, and that's this basic energy that prevails there. This community, because it said, we surely have one of the greatest communities in this world, because it's become such a strong, great community.
It is. Look, Max, as I said, football is forbidden. But the best example right now, for instance, is Real Madrid and Bayern Munich. I'll just say it like it is. Real Madrid is of the opinion we are the best. There's arguing, and they've fallen out with each other. Bayern Munich has its problems, there's arguing, but then in the right direction, pulling together on one rope. And that's why what's happening now is happening to Real Madrid. That it's no longer the team it always was, that successful team with the victories, because it's no longer a team. And that's practically very important in our community now too. We're a team, we pull together, we live the Baccarat Entertainment, we enjoy it, or we just drop out. And there's no right or left there.
I would certainly count that as one of your strengths, that sensitive hand you have, with the strictness at times, but also that you, in many places, it's also letting go, where I, for example, or surely others would say, oh God, what's this now? Or what's this question again? There's plenty of that, yeah. Where you then just say, hey, they're people, let people be people. That's definitely a really big strength of yours. A question I personally find quite nice is there's something people often misjudge about you.
Oh. Is my wife anywhere near here?
Look at the camera. You may.
Yes, of course. And specifically from the envious ones. The envious ones misjudge me completely because they have to misjudge me. Or want to because they, the success, especially my companions in my life, well, the more successful I became, the more friends I ended up losing along the way. I'm in the fortunate position today to have found new friends here.
Real friends. Where
not one was a companion in my life. Yeah. That means my best friends, where I also said, that's my friend. Well, I define friend differently. A friend to me isn't someone who...
It's all good. Keep talking. I don't want anyone to see it beforehand. It'll be a little surprise for him. Go ahead and keep talking. Friends?
Okay, friend, you have to define it. A friend to me isn't someone I go for a beer with every night, but a friend is someone with whom I've experienced many years of ups and downs where I know I can rely on them. A friend isn't someone I have to check in with every week, but a friend is someone, if I'm in the hospital tomorrow and they live in another country, say, we haven't seen each other for a year and suddenly they're there at the hospital. That's a friend. Friend isn't someone who, for example, wants to be on my friend list on Facebook. There are many who send me friend requests that I don't know. And I always reply, thanks for the request. Do we know each other? No, we don't know each other, but I've seen you, and so on. And even Pager, I say, sorry, I'm afraid on my friend list there are only people I've had personal contact with. And it goes so far that now here, where I am, having lived for the last few years, I've found really true, real friends. And that again has nothing to do with money. I'm happy to have ended up here at a time when I also had to make sure that I struggled financially, and that's when the friendships were formed. It has nothing to do with, well, sure, it's logical, a rich guy, everyone wants to be his friend. It has nothing to do with that.
What you told me, and I can confirm that I know the people here quite well by now. Really great people. Unfortunately, we can't see the picture now or the photos you have there. And what you've also told me before, that they are people. I think a life partner is a very good example of that. When you're with a life partner who has grown with you from the ground up and didn't just enter your life once you were successful. Staying with these important values in life, or precious values in life. You mentioned it just now. You support a school project here, which has now actually turned into a charity project, I believe, developed. How did the school project, how did this whole idea of a social charity project actually come about?
That's the story behind it. It's my nature that back then in Thailand, as I briefly mentioned earlier, I helped a lot. I helped a very great deal. But above all, I helped in a way that wasn't always having someone there with a camera and how I give someone money just so it can be filmed. And then it's on Facebook. Or how I give someone food just so it's filmed and on Facebook to boost my own profile. It wasn't like that for me, and it's still not like that for me. Back then in Thailand, I took some locals and said, it really hurts me. And we really drove into the jungle, where I then brought food over and brought toys for the children. Far away from any civilization, those who really needed it. And not in the city, where people with cameras and everything with their business distribute free food, as nice as it is, but there are taxi drivers in the line, there are police officers in the line picking up the food. Sorry, that's not the right point for me. For me, it's always been important that help reaches the right place and there don't need to be cameras there. And since I've been here, there's always been this little sick child that I've been supporting financially with hydrocephalus, such a large head. I started supporting that privately. And then someone found out about it and wanted to help out financially too. And so I made that public. And that's how the Baccarat Entertainment charity story began, from my private support. And then others joined in. And more people wanted to help, so more financial resources became available. And then we have a kindergarten here on site, which was a private project of my wife's. She practically renovated and refurbished the kindergarten. Charity funds also flowed into that because many said, come on, put it towards your wife's project for the kids. And then I had this school program here, a school from 1st to 5th grade, which was really dilapidated. The state schools here aren't necessarily as they should be because Laos is a very, very poor country. The financial resources aren't like what you know from Europe, although okay. And no politics.
No, none.
Politics. Let's stick to the school. That's where I started, and I tried to renovate the school with my own private funds. It was all run down. All the classrooms are just 1 story, 3 buildings, but the roofs were broken and everything. And then I turned it into a charity program. And by the way, that really does show, without a doubt, what kind of community we are. So much money came in that I could not only redo all the buildings, restore and renovate everything, including electricity and lighting.
Benches, chairs, everyone has their own chair now.
Every child now has their own chair and they sit 2 to a table. That means the children now go to their school and sit on their own chair. That means an incredible amount to a child. Then beyond that, a new building was constructed. The school library, as you know it, has been renovated and refurbished, starting with the renovation, equipped with air conditioning, etc. And then, of course, it was important for me, without expanding on it too much, what's the use of making something new? And everything stays the way it was before. Then in 2 or 3 years, it'll all be ruined again. If there's no money to repair a roof, it won't be there in 2 or 3 years either. And so it was important for me to develop a program, to create a flagship program here in Laos, so that people can see how a school can sustain itself and refinance itself. And that's basically how the story with the soccer field, the sports field, came about.
Which is also a topic close to your heart.
Very dear topic, but here it's meant so that right in the middle of the schoolyard, a large,
huge soccer field is being built there, right?
it's rented out after school hours, it's rented out, and with the rental income, then the teams then play against each other for an hour. That goes into the pot. And that's used to pay the caretaker I've hired. Who wasn't there before? Who doesn't exist in any school in Laos?
And you,
Privately financed. In
a state school,
right, in a state school. It's the only way it makes sense for the investment the community has entrusted to me. So it's not just an investment where today everything's fine and in 3 years it's all gone. That means for me it's very important when you look back in 3 years or in 5 years and see that it still looks exactly the same as it does now. And that only works with maintenance.
why is this topic so important to you personally?
Children, school is children. Why didn't I do the 9th or 10th grade? But the children, what can the children do about it? We parents are responsible. We parents bring children into the world, and we parents have a duty to do something good for the children. We parents have a duty to raise children, or even those who aren't parents of the children, but all the older people. It's our duty to support the children. Let's not kid ourselves. A child who isn't educated, who doesn't come across well in terms of lifestyle, not even just knowledge, but lifestyle, will have fewer opportunities later on. And I told the big boss here in town, I said, look, the children are the future. If you have well-educated children in school, your city benefits. The city benefits, the country benefits. And you have fewer problems with raising problem citizens. That doesn't mean all the children will be smart now, but in any case, they'll come out of school. Not dumber children than before.
And with a better foundation. And they already have that, I think, in terms of attitude, in terms of posture.
Right? The children are now being taught by the caretaker, for example, that paper doesn't belong on the floor, but that it goes in a trash can. And that alone is a step in the right direction for a child to learn something like that. And especially for children, it's fun. I mentioned recently, when it's all finished, I'll go to the school once a month and do an hour. I'm teaching the children right now about this program.
Well, you know, that
Will be fun. That means I'll bring a child over and they're supposed to drop a piece of paper. And then I'll bring a girl over, she's supposed to pick up the paper and throw it in a wastebasket. And she's supposed to say that's the right way. And then I want to teach the children that they can tell their dad that at home too. If dad drops something, they should be able to see it. Children like doing that. When they can tell mom or dad something, pick it up. And if you look at it that way, if it were done like that everywhere, in 5 years, a region would be clean.
What does it mean to you personally to be here on the ground? In Laos, also in this place, and also in relation to the school, your environment, your friends you found here, not forgetting Big Boss?
Okay, just to mention again, by Big Boss, you mean my wife, who Big Boss actually is for Baccarat Entertainment, and of course is also my big boss. What does it mean to me here? The big loop I've made in my life, being born among the socialists, living there for 25 years, then over to the capitalists, I think, living there for 20 years, then to the developing country Thailand, which it still is for me, living there for 15, 18, 16 years, and now finally ending up with the communists. That means I've been through quite a bit. And what does it mean to me to be here now? If I could have chosen, I would have come here immediately. I feel most at home here. We are in the poorest country in Southeast Asia, and I love being allowed to live here with this joy for life of the poorest of the poor. What they give you in terms of joy, fun, life, not money, not luxury, life, sitting together, having fun, just being together. All the difficulties, solving them daily to then sit together again in the evening over a beer, sitting together. Always in the group, not like it unfortunately is in Europe. Here there's a nice home of your own, which is how it should be. But everyone is alone. They are alone. You watch football alone, or you go to the stadium, but otherwise nobody goes to the stadium here. Here they all sit in a group drinking their beer or going dancing together. Or there's the Lao culture, which is a very special one, where the dead are no longer forgotten. The dead person is always right there. No dead person is forgotten here. On the contrary, there are celebrations for the dead. Food is cooked for the dead. And they're actually always right there, and they're never forgotten. Or one would naturally be afraid of not honoring and caring for the dead, well, because he'll be dead one day too. That means, you're always in the family, you're always part of it.
I can also confirm that from my own experience and why I find it so beautiful here. Confirm, especially in the poorer regions. I'm in Thailand, but even there, I actually live in Phuket. But when I visit my wife's family, she's from the north of Thailand, also a poorer region of Thailand. But especially there, this openness, this warm-heartedness, the kindness of the people. And this, it's such an indescribably beautiful feeling. I almost get goosebumps. Because, well, I can 100% relate to what you're saying about that and what it gives you. To now, I'll finally dare to take a look into the future. Where do you see Baccarat Entertainment in 5 years? What do you personally want to achieve during this time as well? And maybe we can also take a little look at your second baby, which you've also started in Baccarat in the meantime.
I have to clarify briefly, do you mean in 5 years or in the 5th year?
In the coming 5 years, since you just mentioned it, let's look at your retirement.
Okay. Where do I see us? So I already mentioned it earlier, I want to push it. One of the longest running entertainments on the market anyway. And I deliberately say entertainments in this regard. Yes, very
important for us.
Right, where you can earn a little something on the side with fun and joy. I want to make it known worldwide. I have to say we are already worldwide anyway. Except for where it's very, 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 very cold. We don't have anyone there yet. But otherwise we are now scattered all over the entire world. And you can't stop that anymore, and I don't want to stop it at all. Okay, I could, but I don't want to at the moment. When I say not at the moment, it has to do with the fact that I'm watching the growth. That is all. Growing healthily. And as far as I'm concerned, and as far as your new business is concerned, yes, I was that naive again, so silly and so stupid. And I don't know, I could have kicked myself again. I had such a stupid idea to put a crowning touch on the whole thing. In the market where we operate here, also from a future tech perspective, thinking ahead, it should simply become easier for the users. Their earned money, their won money, or even just their own monthly salary from home, if they somehow connect that with crypto, want to invest there so that they can handle it more easily. It's still a difficulty now. How do I even get money into the crypto world, and how do I get it back out once I have it in there? And so I thought to myself, well, man, what if you had an in-house Visa card, an in-house crypto Visa card? So just a naive idea. I didn't know what a Bitcoin was, and now I'm thinking about how nice it would be if I could then transfer my money that I have on the internet onto a card. And with that card, I go sounding so naive. As I thought, I go to the bank with it and say, could I please withdraw some money here today? And then they pay out your money in cash, in fiat currency at the bank. Or you go to the ATM with it and withdraw your money at the ATM, and worldwide at that. Or you go to all locations that accept Visa and pay with your Visa card. That was my dream, and so I set out on that path. I almost have to laugh. And as I sit here today, I'll just reach over here to the left. There has been the BE22 for a very short time now. Visa crypto card. It's on the market. It's distributed worldwide. And exactly this card, this little piece that I have in my hand, gives you such financial freedom that you don't have to worry anymore about where you are in the world. You don't have to worry anymore about who can see how much money I have. And you also don't have to worry anymore when your money is now on the card. And I don't have to spend it now on my trip. Or I wanted to buy a car, then didn't buy the car after all, now it's on the card. No, this card, yes, listen closely, you can transfer the money back. Transfer it to your own account.
Unique at this point in time.
Unique. The work that's gone into this over the last few months, behind this little piece of plastic, you can't imagine. I've reached my limits. Naturally, technologies are interlocking that I can't even know about. But you just have to know the right people. And as far as people go, especially Visa and the leading bank here in the country wouldn't have even talked to me if Andy Schumann, wasn't clean. And I can rub it in the faces of many of you out there right now. rub the subject of Andy Schumann in your faces. Who is Andy Schumann? Andy Schumann, as a private individual, has launched a Visa crypto card, and that required a background check beforehand because neither Visa nor the leading bank, which is also shown on the back, would have done that with me. And now I don't even know, let's just say, there aren't necessarily many who have their own company logo on their Visa card, their normal Visa card. And that's the crowning achievement of it all. That means at this moment, anyone who even just acquires this Visa card from Baccarat Entertainment, B22 Club, so Baccarat Entertainment, founded in 2022, the card is automatically associated with the business. And if he's lucky, he'll look into the business and can then increase the money he already has so that in the future there's even more money on the card. I've
Done it.
done it. It's an indescribable feeling for me to hold this in my hand and go to market with it now. Especially since we're already 3,500 people in our community, which affects every single one and makes this more than necessary for almost every single person. So much for the future. I don't do something like this if I think I'm going to retire tomorrow. Now I have my second baby, which naturally interlocks, but it's meant to grow. Everyone should know it.
Goosebumps. I think, honestly, at this point, you really do deserve special congratulations again, because this is a real bombshell. Something like this, as you said, is also a blow against every envious person, hater, or anyone who has ever allowed themselves to write some nonsense on the internet, on some portals.
I was in prison after all.
Exactly.
I'm being persecuted. You
weren't allowed to cross borders, etc., and so on, as you might expect. And then, in order to actually get a physical card with the word Visa clearly printed on it, mind you, I want to emphasize this point, should, in theory, silence all those persistent voices, all those doubts once and for all.
The worldwide,
At everywhere where Visa is accepted.
Exactly.
Pay online, offline, pay for travel with it, withdraw money at any bank. This is unique, and it's once again, especially when we think back to this, that at some point you didn't know what Bitcoin was. A truly great achievement. Congratulations on that, Andy. Really great job. Maybe let's just stay with that for a moment, and then we'll look towards the end. What is your long-term vision, and when would you actually say, now I'm finally satisfied?
I always think, when I realize the day has come when I pass away, then I'll be satisfied.
We still have a few years.
I think so.
Glad to hear it. And now really, let's come to the conclusion. We've certainly spoken here for a few minutes now. What would you like to tell the community today? Say, take this brief moment, maybe also to tell the people out there a bit about what's behind you, what's happening there.
Okay, open your eyes. Watch out for your money. Look at who you're making your money available to. Don't be afraid of the future. Be kind to each other. Be nice to each other. Help other people. And you have a wonderful life.
In that sense, with these closing words, I think we might have been able to show one or two people that this was perhaps just the beginning. That was just the beginning. We're at chapter 1.
I always describe it like this. 800-meter sprint. You have to pace yourself. It's no use if you go full throttle now in the first 100 meters. But you have to find your rhythm first. And of course, right at the start, where is the rhythm? And also in a story where you weren't taught it. This isn't something I just took over from somewhere. I had to do it all myself.
Bitcoin,
yeah, there was something. So, and then to say, okay, to feel, oh, now we've started running, of course, still with stuttering and so on, but we've removed the stuttering, using better oil, etc. And then to say, okay, just from the feeling alone, you finished the first 200 of the 800-meter run. You're now in the phase where you're basically just working through your cycle, but always looking ahead so that there isn't something lying on your track that makes you trip, so that you already steer clear of it. Or beforehand, that you have trainers on the left and right, or our task force, seeing, for example, oh, way up there, someone is building an obstacle for you, so that they either already try to get the obstacle out of the way, or that you at least don't just run senselessly into the obstacle, that you maybe run a bit slower until the obstacle is cleared away, or quite simply bypass the obstacle, even if it's a bit of a longer way and becomes more difficult. But so that you don't end up stumbling. It's practically thinking ahead like that. And I see myself, as I said, now at 800 meters, having reached 200 meters.
which fits quite well with that, with the quarter. 4 years have passed.
I can do 6 more years.
He can do 6 more years. And then you also mentioned in another interview that it should hopefully be passed on within the family. And I hope we've been able to show that a bit now. That was just the beginning.
We've got the beginning behind us. We're well on our way now. We know what we're talking about now. We don't have to be afraid of anyone anymore, no matter where they come from. We've seen it all before. And we also know how to handle the problem then.
Andy, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for the interview.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your attention, for your interest. We're going to celebrate the anniversary now.
Let's do it. Thank you. Bye.